Our user research is involved in making field observations, user interviews and tests. A lot of the pictures and the audio that you heard, if you got here a little bit earlier before the meeting started, were from some of the research and some of the tests that we've done. Just to give you a sample of how much user knowledge, how much user data we collect. This is just based on not even a full year's worth of work of what's been done. So for Science Direct, I went back and looked at a lot of the reports and stuff that we've done, and this is that actual number of users that we've actually interviewed or sat with or observed or tested over the past, 8 months or so. So as you can see, we've gotten a lot of information that that we as an organization need to share and be able to use in order to really understand and can use in order to understand what we're developing. So some of the personas that we have in the booklets that we've patched out again, neuroscientist researcher that Sarah has really done a lot of work with and tried to understand with in the course of doing her brain mapping, not mind mapping, brain mapping. And then, of course, professors, librarians. We've been working with these people for a long, long time, and we do know a lot, but just as the technology advances, we need to be on top of what these people are learning and doing and how their needs are changing with new technology. Corporate Technology Director. Again, I invite you, if we have a little bit of time after this meeting, to go around and look at some of the personas. If you have any questions about the personas and some of the information that we've gathered, feel free to ask. Just as a thought experiment, one of our colleagues, actually did a comparative generational persona, which I think was really cool and really interesting. It's something for us to consider, is how user needs are changing. Over there on the left, you've got the retiree math professor, which is very similar to a lot of the people that we've actually interviewed and observed over the course of our time. And you can sort of read some of his typical characteristics. Here's a researcher of tomorrow. What are they going to be like? These are people who are constantly on Facebook 3 hours a day or Twittering. So how are the needs are going to change? How are the as we design as we design products 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how are those researchers going to change? So Chris already talked about different ways to learn about your users. I've gone a little bit further. Actually, these are some from one of my colleagues, Spencer, the group in Amsterdam, and I've taken his chart and added a few more. These are some easy ways to learn about your users. One of the things I did a long time ago is I set up a bunch of Science Direct alerts. I'm still getting them in my inbox. In fact, now I can't figure out how to delete some of them or unsubscribe. But I'm still getting some. But it's a good experience. It helps you understand this is what our researchers actually see. They get these alerts all the time, and some of them I read, some of them I just delete. But some of them are pretty interesting, but it helps you get a sense of their experience. These are other ways of actually trying to learn a little bit about your users. Recently, I've set up Twitter RSS feeds for Scopus and Science Direct, and really found some, every once in a while you find some really interesting tweets on Twitter of what people have to say about Science Direct and Scopus, and it's actually kind of fun. It can be entertaining, but these are just a couple of examples from Science Direct and Scopus, in the last couple of weeks. But it updates pretty frequently, and you get some, especially, with both of them, you get new tweets almost every day. And one of the things it also does is it makes you aware that we're not just serving people here at Wright State or the Dayton area of the United States. You're getting tweets from all over the world. And this just helps drive it home that, this is not just a US product or a Ohio product. This is a product that we've developed that everybody in the world is using, or people from all over the world is using. And it's kind of neat to see that, and it also keeps you aware that that is the case. This is kind of a funny tweet that I came across a week or so ago, about someone talking about, gee, we could really learn a few things from Scopus. This is before 8 o'clock in the morning. People love some of the people really love the products that we've developed. And this is just an example. I think it's really cool. And, but it's just an example of this sort of thing. Here's another one of, I don't know if it's Japan or China or where, what kind of language this is. But again, just to drive home the point that this is not just, we're just not developing US products. So to get involved in learning more about these users, what can you do? We do so much testing, we do a lot of remote testing, we do a lot of interviews over the phone. If you're working with a UCD member on your project team, find out when they're doing some testing, find out when they're doing some interviewing. We invite you to sit in on phone calls or sit in on tests. It can be really eye-opening. You can really learn a lot listening to some of the users and what they have to say about not just the concepts, but the products in general. It can really be useful. And I know that a number of you have sat in on usability tests or interviews in the past, but again, you should be aware of that. And if you're interested at all, I mean, usually it's not a problem whatsoever. And then finally, we have a SharePoint site, as Chris was mentioning. We've got tons of research up there, tons of data that we've collected over the years. We've got all these personas, and we've got these personas in much more detail than you see here. And you know, we'd be interested in your thoughts about that as well. And that about does it for me. Kathy, thank you very much for the opportunity to